Welcome back to the Diaphragm Dynasty, where we talk everything exclusively R&B and a little bit of pop as well. I want to add that into there, but continue to support, like, and subscribe to the content. It'll do me a huge bit. Also, check out the Urban Scope podcast, my podcast mostly about hip hop and rap and other things in entertainment and sports of the sort. So don't forget to continue to like and subscribe to that content as well. So I'm back with another hot topic today. I wanted to discuss the best 90s female R&B group of all time. Now, this is a very tough discussion, very rounded discussion. A lot of people in contention for this, but there's only one group that can be the top group, and I'll get into that top group in a little bit. But we know that the 90s R&B groups gave us a lot of great music and a lot of great memories and a lot of great times. So but I'll keep this discussion strictly to the 90s and not what you did before or after, but specifically to what your success and what you did accolades wise. Just keep it in the 90s. So, in this contention, of course, I have Destiny's Child, Beyonce, Michelle, and Kelly. Then you got SWV, you got TLC, you got Escape, you got In Vogue, and then you got 702. Now, all of these artists or all these groups released at least two albums in the 90s. Um, In Vogue released the earliest, which they dropped the album in 1990. Mostly everybody else dropped albums around the later to mid 90s. But um, a lot of these, I think TLC probably was the most productive. But as far as commercially successful, TLC by far was the most successful, selling over 22 million records. Now, Destiny's Child was just getting started in the 90s. They released late 90s, I believe 98, 99. So they didn't really have much time in the 90s. So that kind of disqualified them. And they didn't really have that impact and started until like '01 or 2001 time period when they started really cooking up. And Beyonce became a household name, things like that. But as far as TLC goes, they spent majority of the 90s, and I believe they released three albums during that in the 90s. So they had a lot of time to contribute, to get accolades, success, to cut their teeth, become household names, become famous, get all these different record sales going. But they were very successful on the record selling tip and impact wise as well. The fashion that they had, just the voice that they had. They had a unique set of group members. They had two singers and a rapper who can also sing as well. So they had the versatility that other groups didn't have in the 90s or even to this day of just being able to have that. Um, if you want to say somebody had that, maybe Pretty Ricky, because they had a lot of rappers and one singer, but it's not usual that you have somebody who raps and a bunch of people who sing around them. Drew Hill didn't have a rapper in the group, or Boys the Men didn't have a rapper in the group, which might have been insane if they did, because it might have changed the landscape of music. Just having one rapper with all these different singers, especially on these dedicated crooners love songs or these passionate love songs, to have another rapper on there. But I don't think nobody really tapped into that other than TLC, which makes them so unique. And SWV and In Vogue had a lot of vocal talent, but they didn't have a lot of pop success as far as crossing over, because they were very soulful. And I believe that even to this day, the culture of other races and cultures are not really drawn to all the soulfulness. You think about artists now like Taylor Swift that doesn't have a lot of soul and just gives you songs without a lot of flavor to it. It seems to be the new trend. So I think In Vogue and SWV had very beautiful voices, but for the masses who buy the albums, they didn't gravitate toward it because it was so soulful and was so passionate. A lot of people like a lot of bland stuff now, other cultures and stuff like that. But we come from the church and we come from that type of singing, so we usually gravitate towards that singing. Not saying something wrong with the bland stuff, but usually we like a little bit more soulful music with a little pizzazz to it. And SWV and In Vogue definitely had those elements in their music. And Escape is kind of in that same category. they had major hits in the R&B realm, but they didn't really cross over to pop like that until Candy Barris and Tiny wrote the No Scrubs song for TLC, but that was behind the scenes. But that song crossed over. Other cultures and races, embraced that song. But they did contribute as songwriters on there, so they did make other contributions as well. But I think No Scrubs was later in the early 2000s, so that wasn't counting this anyway. 702 had hits, but they didn't have the impact that TLC or even a Destiny's Child had, just because of the simple fact of, like I talked about earlier, they just had too much soul in their music. And it's a shame that that's a knock, but for other people, some people just like the bland stuff. But TLC is the obvious answer, the most impact on the culture in the 90s, they had the most success, most records sold. They had just everybody trying to be like them, coming out of Atlanta and being famous as well for setting the landscape as far as contract goes, because people got more information about bad contracts and what to sign, what not to sign. And TLC is a big part of that, of why artists now look at their contracts differently. Why artists are going more independent now, because they don't want to be held to a label saying, we owe all this money, or they owe all this money before they even start. And, it's just better to invest in yourself. And artists start seeing that after what happened to TLC and the situation they went through financially and the hardships that they went through selling all these records and still not having money. It was insane. So a lot of people took that as a lesson and became more information bound or more information driven as far as these contract goes, and just getting a lawyer and getting people to look over things, because the music industry was predatory then. It's definitely predatory now, but TLC had a huge contribution, and people protecting their rights and protecting their money and protecting their intellectual property. So they had a huge contribution on that. And that's another reason why they're one of the best, the best female R&B group of the 90s. And then they also had, broke the racial barrier of songs. People listen to their music despite what color they were or what beliefs they had about, blacks. Their music was undeniable. So kudos to them for that as well. And then they had one of the biggest personalities of all time, Lisa Left Eye Lopez. Rest in peace to her. She was very good, as far as being, and so talented as far as singing, rapping, and doing the like. And on House Party 3, she was very good on that as well. So she had a lot of ability, and it would have been nice to see, if she would have never passed away, what her career looked like after that, because she was going to release a solo rap album as well, which it would have been very good to listen to. But huge personality, huge impact on the culture. TLC is the best group, female R&B group of the 90s. So as always, until next time, I'll see you next time.